Gen X grew up on late-night warnings.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Scared, straight.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
And were inspired by movies that defined a generation.
We were all pretty bizarre. Some of us are just better at hiding it, that's all.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
I feel the need for speed.
We found our attitude in comedy.
I'm Gumby, damn it.
You see that sign? No shirt, no shoes, no dice.
Right. Learn it. Know it. Live it.
And our identity in pop culture.
I want my MTV!
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
What you talking about, Willis?
Keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
This is Gen X Men with Bill Rowland and Gary Dollarhide.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Welcome in, everyone. Episode number 22 of Gen X Men. Bill Rowland here, Gary Dollarhide there in the hinterlands of Central Maine. Are you? No, I guess you're coastal Maine now, right?
We're coastal southern right now. So
all right,
we're finishing
southern Maine.
Yeah, right here on 100 yards from the beach. So.
Oh, that's right. That makes it sound like it's the Mediterranean. It's lovely at this time of year, I imagine.
Well, we've had a lot of melt, so you're starting to see sand again.
Oh, there you go.
But we're supposedly getting another 3 to 6 inches Friday night, so cover it right back up. We'll be back to the winterland.
Have fun. I think they're saying if certain things happen, if then, if that, if this, then we might get snow. They say Sunday into Monday, but it's
for us. It's Friday into Saturday. Yeah, but again, 3 to 6 inches here is nothing. So nothing stops.
Well, if we got 3 to 6 inches here this time, it would be awful because it's been warm enough now that you're going to get that wet, gross, gooey snow that feels like you're shoveling water. Not like the fluffy stuff when we got hit with the 8 inches the last time, which it was fine, easy to shovel once you get through the ice layer. But if it snows this time, it's going to be that nasty stuff that just like drops, and then 2 days later it all melts, and so it makes your yard even worse. I mean, it's mud central. Yeah, it's mud central right now here in our backyard. I was looking at it, I'm like, it's awful. I'm glad I don't have to do anything going back there. All right. Couple of things to get into. We'll start right off with the big thing that happened this week. Oh boy. And it's going to be a good time. You're going to have a lot of the youth of today are going to be set on the straight and narrow when you have me go in and be a guest lecturer at George Mason University, which is, I like doing it. It's fun, but I always, I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or whatever, but I always feel like, what do you need me to go in there and talk to them for? Well, they're not going to learn anything from me. I guess it's just stupid.
It's just good to hear from you, Bill.
Yeah, I guess. Roger Smith, who you had already finished at school. Yes. I think you were on the committee that hired him, though, because it was your senior year. I think that's right. At least that's the story he tells. Is that you were one of the people that interviewed him as the incoming radio station. I don't know, what would you call it? Advisor? I don't even know. I guess that would be what it is. Anyway. So he's still a professor. He's no longer the radio station advisor.
I can't remember. Here we go. I can't remember the official title, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was. I want to say advisor. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But anyway, so he teaches what used to be radio production class. I would go in and talk to him for them. I've been doing this for a number of years. And now it's podcast / it's like 90% podcast, 10% like radio. Like it's basically production class, except we're not teaching them how to do Adobe Audition or anything like that. I guess maybe that's radio production 100. This was a 300 level class. But anyway, so I go in and I'm talking to them, and to make the point, one of the things I was trying to say is, hey, if you're going to start a podcast, one of my points was it should be something that you could sit down in 20 to 30 minutes. You could talk to somebody else or just stare into the camera and talk about without having any notes or anything else. That should be if you're going to do a podcast, that should be it. And I explained to them, I said, what my partner Gary and I do, we don't have really any notes. We might grab something here and there, have stuff written down so we know the kind of subjects that we're going to talk about, but we're not scripting things out like you would hear for like a newscast or something like that. Like there are no scripts. We're just talking. And so I said, you also have to know your audience. And so I played them our opening that we just played with all the different movie clips and everything else. Yeah. And Roger and one other woman in the class who was probably right about our age were the only ones that knew, like, Roger's laughing about some of the different bites, everything. He's like, oh, I know that one. That. And I asked the kids, I said, did you recognize any of those at all? And a couple of people were like, I mean, I think that was Back to the Future. Or one kid, kind of shook his head. And I'm like, okay. So but the whole point was this show isn't for them, but hello, welcome if you're watching, because I know Roger was sending the link out to them. So welcome to the show. So that was the full day, at least in that class. But it was strange to me because they took notes, or what I thought they were taking notes on. Again, the woman that was about our age was writing things down on a notepad. So clearly she was either doing her grocery list or she was actually taking notes. The kids, it's hard to say because it was a lot of, here's my phone. They could have been texting people. They could have been watching YouTube for all I know, but they seem to pay attention. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because I have to do continuing education for what I do. A lot of it is remote learning, so you just take the course online. But there's a few live courses we take, and it's inevitable because we're still a mixed age group in emergency medical services. You'll see people of our age, they've brought the notebooks or note cards or whatever it is, and they're writing their bullet points, etc. And then you'll see the younger ones either have nothing, or as you said, have their phone, their computer, and it's just recording. And I guess I know the technology is there. You can record the whole thing, go back and digest it. But for me, and maybe it's an age thing, doing that has never worked. Something about physically writing, putting the pen to paper, and taking the notes that way sticks with me. Like I'll remember bullet points and certain words. We were talking about this earlier. I remember my days in college writing in a notebook. I could almost see the page where if I didn't exactly know the information, I could sit there and go, well, it's on this page and I know this was written a certain way, or if I made a doodle to one side, like I could just almost see the page. Like that's how the recollection worked. But these kids just flat recording or not taking notes. I don't understand how it translates for them. But again, we grew up differently, so maybe it works for them. I remember watching the kid and the stepkids, everything they did was on their Chromebooks. Like that's how they took tests and that's how they did projects. There was no paper involved because, we're saving trees out there. But I guess somewhere someone said that works for them. I don't know. I don't get it. But it just seems odd to me that you're not writing something down.
Yeah, I think it probably is dependent on how you were brought up, on how you can recall information, because we were brought up where you had to, like even in elementary school, you wrote everything out. You didn't have a Chromebook. I didn't learn to type until I was in high school, and that wasn't on a computer. That was on a typewriter.
IBM's electric.
Yeah. I still to this day, people sometimes you get asked, oh, what was your favorite subject in high school or whatever it was, and I'm always like, well, it may not have been my favorite. The most important class that I ever took in my life was that typing class, because man, it made life so much easier when we got into college, and all of a sudden you're using computers and you can type up your papers rather than handwriting them. I can remember being one of the first people, like you typed it out and printed it and handed in your essay. And I can remember it was, I want to say, one of the English classes that I took at Mason, maybe my second year. And I brought in and we're handing the papers in, and I walked up and handed my paper. And the girl behind me went, "How did you do that?" And I went, "What are you talking about?" She goes, How did you get that all printed out? And I'm like, "Well, we had the computer lab downstairs in Thompson Hall." It's like I printed it there. And she's like, "Oh, I wrote hand wrote 8 pages of stuff." She's like, "I got to figure out how to do that." And I'm like, "Well, do you know how to?" I mean, my first thing was, "Do you know how to type?" And she was like, "Not really." And I'm like, "Learn to type." That was that was so much easier. I typed out papers for my fraternity brothers when they would have stuff, and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't want to, we're supposed to type it," because that's what everybody was learning, was how to do the computer stuff. So I was like, "Well, I can type faster than you can hunt and peck. I'll do it, but get me a 6-pack or whatever it was. I'm not doing this for free, but I'll sit there and type it," because I was pretty good. I think at the fastest, I was probably doing between 60 and 75 words a minute. So, I mean, you can fly through a 4-page paper. Simple.
Well, and other than a few things, so high school, we had a computer lab, but there was no interaction for printing. So I remember
we didn't have it in high school,
senior years, hey, you had to turn in a quote unquote paper. It was mostly handwritten. We were fortunate. I don't know. My dad had a typewriter, and I remember him saying, "Well, it's faster than handwriting, except for when you're trying to figure out your margins and not go off the edge and fix mistakes." Right. But if you were just raw typing, it is faster than handwriting. And then I eventually, like you, took a typing class later that year, and it was a big skill, which is kind of funny to think about today. It was a class. And learning this and that. But it made it so much faster than handwriting. And then when we got to George Mason, because we were there at the same time, I remember being like, "Oh, I can print this out now. I can type it in the computer and have the computer print it. This is fantastic." Dot matrix printer, but it's still faster than handwriting. So that's why you were just saying that. I was like, yeah, it was an amazing skill to learn at the time. People look at you weird now, but at the time, if you could type or had any inclination to do it, you were ahead of the game.
Oh, yeah. And my mom worked as in her career, she worked as a secretary at the Pentagon for a while. That's how she started. She was one of the people when she graduated from Maine. She came down here to DC, was part of like the secretary pool at the Pentagon. So, yeah, we had a typewriter and the little, correction stuff that you would drop in and then you hit the button and it would, or you had the white out. And then you have to wait for it to dry to type like the one letter that you misspelled over top. I mean, I knew all the tricks on how to do all that stuff because I watched my mom sit there and do it. And, she said, "You need to learn how to do this." So when I started taking the typing class, I'd go home and practice all the time because I was like, I want to be, this whole thing is you want to be the fastest person. We had a little, competition going on with me and a couple of the other guys that were in that class because there was maybe in a class of 30, there's maybe 6 guys. And a lot of my friends are like, "You're taking typing? Really?" And I'm like, yeah. And by the time I got done with it that year, I was like, this is the best thing that I've ever done. This is the best class I've ever taken. And it proved it when I got to college. So, yeah.
Now, the downfall
to Sherry Ingalls, my typing teacher, wherever she may be. Yes.
I took it as an extension course through the community college, and they held it at my high school.
Oh,
and
okay.
I remember being blown away when the teacher pulled "this is what you can be." And she just had the book beside her. And it was almost like watching Kermit the Frog in his typing scenario. You just saw her hands just do this, right? It's just flying, and she's done. Right. No errors. Margins are right. And it was like, wow, that's amazing. But I remember the downfall for me was when we started doing it in the word processor.
Okay.
And then came spell check.
Yep.
And so now I don't care what button I hit because it's going to go back and fix it. So error-free became whatever, let's be efficient. Yeah, we're just banging words in and the computer will fix it on the backside. We're ready to go. So
yeah, the only thing I didn't like about the word processors, you can only see like 4 or 5 words at a time. So if you're just mindlessly typing, then you're like, "Oh, how do I want to end this?" Like you couldn't see like on the computer screen, obviously, as you're typing, if you're in Word now, you can see everything, at least that whole page. But yeah, the first word processors had the little tiny strip screen. Those are the ones you're talking about, right? There's a dot matrix, and you can only see like 4 or 5 words at a time, depending on how long the words were. And then you'd be like, I don't remember what I wrote before this. So then you'd have to do the backspace and then to read the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, that took a while. Yeah, it took a while. But yeah, I mean, spell check ended up being a game changer. And then I used to get mad all the time at Word when it would do like the syntax and it would check like your verb, verb noun or whatever, the verb text tense or whatever. And I'm like, you're wrong on this. Like there's so many times I'm like, that's not correct. But it was still
never
smart.
trust the computers.
Yeah, well,
never trust the computers.
Exactly. So I did that class.
Yeah,
and that was fun. Again, they seemed to be really nice. The kids were fine. I was surprised. I was asking them like what podcast they listened to because I was just trying to get a sense of their listening habits. And it was interesting because one girl that was in there, and I don't know. I mean, this is a $300 class, so she's probably 21, 22. I have no idea. Her main podcast to listen to is NPR, like their news one. And I was like, I want to be like, it's very mature for a college. I was like, okay, good for you. And then one of the other a guy in the class was like, oh, there's a bunch of these creators on YouTube and I was like, that's what I was expecting. It was just like a bunch of people said, this is why they're not social anymore. I think this is why they don't hang out. And I just saw a study about that in the last week or two that they just don't go and hang out anymore. This new Gen Z folks. He was saying like, yeah, he goes, I like it. He goes, it's just a bunch of them. He's like, they've got a studio that they've made up, but it looks like, like a dorm room or a living room. I don't remember exactly how he described it. And I'm thinking in my head, yeah, you should be doing that with your friends. They're not your friends.
Correct.
Like, you should be doing this with your friends, like just hanging out and busting balls.
Which is
and that kind
what
of stuff.
we did.
Yes.
From study lounges to restaurants on campus or where you would congregate and just talk. Yes. And so they enjoy watching that. The other thing I think that plays into this, and it's kind of weird, it's kind of deep. We came along when new technology was coming out. Right. So everything was like new, exciting, like, this now, like you said, word processor only shows 4 words, but this is exciting. This is different. I think for this generation, nothing's exciting because they have grown up at a level of computerization, automation. There may be a tweak. Oh, okay. But there's nothing like, going to this podcast class where it's just going to blow their mind. Like, I'm going to learn something great, something out of the ordinary, something just so explosively different than I'm used to that it's exciting. And I think that's what happens to them. I think part of it, too, is they're stimulated from the jump. I mean, even before you're born, it's this generation of the parents are playing Mozart, up against the mom's stomach. Because you want to get those. Right. I'm serious. Like, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah. And then they're in the crib and they have certain toys that are certain shapes and colors because that's what's going to get them to, that'll wire the brain this way for their learn. It's like, it's all nonsense. Like, it's all nonsense. But from day one, they're constantly stimulated. We got into ourselves in trouble when we were kids because we were told to sit with our boredom, right? Yeah. If you ever went to your parents and said you were bored, it was chores time. Oh, you're bored? You can go rake the yard. You can wash the dishes. You won't be bored doing that. It'll give you something. Got a list of stuff for you. Yeah, I mean that's seriously what it was. Is you never went, I'm bored, because you just knew that it would be like, okay, we'll go outside and go outside. It'd be go outside and rearrange the shed. That was a joke. Go put the nails in alphabetical order. What are you talking about? It's a nail, or in the size or whatever. Like go organize the nails. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So we had to sit with our boredom.
And sitting with that boredom also meant that we came up with a lot of stuff that you shouldn't probably have been doing as a young kid. And that's how you ended up getting yourself hurt or in trouble, or just like, what was the main thing when you did something wrong and you got in trouble for it? And I can remember all the time, my dad would be like, why would you even think to do that? Right? And my answer was always
thinking.
Yes. What were you thinking? And my answer was always, I wanted to see what would happen.
Exactly.
That was it. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I wanted to see what would happen. And come to find out, it didn't turn out the way that I thought it might.
Correct.
That's what happens. So yeah, I don't think they sit with boredom at all. I don't think they can.
No,
this whole idea of everybody being ADHD and all this, I think that is overdiagnosed completely. It's because at no point do we tell a kid just exist.
No,
just sit with your own thoughts.
Yep. And then there's, just to touch on a little bit, you talked about the ADHD. There was an article came out recently that, hey, we should probably educate boys separate from girls.
Sure.
I think it was, but they were saying like the first, like kindergarten through 6 or whatever. Like there was a time, because the wiring is so different. Boys need to burn some energy, then come back. Girls will sit and just do what they're told. And so that's the issue going on when, as they said, you have more female teachers and they just want you to sit and be quiet. Boys inherently, chemicals, hormones, can't just sit still and do that. And so we've given them this label of ADHD when the reality is, no, they're just boys. You just need to turn them loose for a little bit and then bring them back and they'll be okay.
Right.
But and that's why they were saying divide it up and really go with segregated education to start with. So, here's the thing. Nobody will do that because they're going to say, well, no, there are some boys. You're labeling all boys that way. And yeah, of course, there are exceptions to all this. There's some always
girls
exceptions
that need to be, let outside to just go run around as well. I get all that. But the problem is today, we don't want to pretend that there's any difference between the genders at all. No, everybody's the same. We're all on the same level. That's nonsense. If you can't figure out that there are differences between individual people, differences between the sexes, any of that stuff, you're just not coming from a place of honesty. It should be, look, equal opportunity does not mean equal outcome. And that's what everybody's trying to generate today is an equal outcome. It's impossible. It does not happen.
A friend of ours who's in education said, hey, we're actually hurting two ways. We're holding back those that can do more.
Yep.
And we're not giving the proper help to those who need more help because we're trying, as you said, we're kind of in this place of everyone kind of needs to be in the same, and we group them, and we can't have some ahead of others and some and so it's really hurting the two ends of the people who should be moving forward, who can do greater things, and then also the people on the lower end, not trying to lower, but who need more help. These people are being underserved because we're trying to just placate everyone, keep them in the middle, keep them together, and as you said, equitable outcomes. And it's not reality.
Yeah, I mean, we both have a lot of friends that are teachers. One of your old roommate from college is a teacher. And this isn't necessarily anything that he said. I don't think I've had the conversation with him, but a lot of the teachers that I've known over the years from coaching high school basketball and everything and that sort of stuff, they've said repeatedly, the hardest part about their job is having the 3 or 4 kids at the top scale and then having 3 or 4 kids that maybe at the bottom scale for whatever reason. And a lot of times it's because they've come here, English is their second language. So they're not on par with everybody yet. And this is a history teacher friend of mine who said it's hard to teach then to the middle because you've got these kids up at the top that you want to be like, they're really, really good. And I should be teaching them so that everybody else comes up to their level. But the problem is he's got to teach towards the bottom and pull everybody down to these poor kids that it's not their fault.
Not their fault.
But they're just not. Maybe they've just come here for whatever reason. They didn't grow up hearing about, why 4th of July and what happened. Like, you just kind of absorb things as you're a kid when you're celebrating like 4th of July and you start talking about American history and that kind of stuff. You just kind of know, or you're familiar with it. If you've come from anywhere else, you have no idea.
Yeah.
It's so all of a sudden, instead of teaching to the top, he's having to pull down, teach to the bottom. He goes, and that's where you get the kids that suddenly they're labeled as again, they're a disruption or anything else. Well, no, it's because they're like, I know all this stuff. I'm bored in this classroom.
Yeah.
You got to come up with different ways to teach. There's a guy, and I wish I knew his name. I come across him on Instagram every now and then. He's a professor at Duke University, and he teaches an entrepreneurial class. And his stuff is completely different than anything else that I've seen as far as teaching a class. And it just happened. We had that snowstorm a few weeks ago, and Duke University shut down their school, the university, no classes after noon on whatever particular day it was. Well, his class started at 11:45. So he didn't send out a note. He didn't send out anything. He was there at 11:45, and he did a video on it. He said, I just want to see, he's a younger guy. Who shows up.
Yep.
And then I want to find out why. Why would you show up for what is basically going to be 15 minutes of this class? And it was interesting, and I'm sure he probably felt pretty good about it, because one girl walked in, he goes, oh, why did you show up for 15 minutes? She goes, I actually like this class. So that was kind of cool. And then another kid said, I wanted to see if you showed up. So it was kind of funny, but he does stuff like that all the time. It's basically it's something, the class name is Something to Fail. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's really interesting. So if you get a chance, I'm sure if you just look up Duke Entrepreneurial Professor or whatever it is, his videos are really cool because it makes you think in different ways. It makes you think about, okay, yeah, what does make a good entrepreneur and that kind of stuff. And it's not going by what everybody else does. It's actually doing something different than everybody else. And that's how you become somewhat successful. Anyway, that was a tangent. But the other class I spoke to, it brought back a bunch of memories for this, because right after that, then I went and talked, and I was fortunate it was back to back, so I didn't have to hang out, was live sports broadcasting. That's a little bit more up my alley than necessarily the podcast stuff, because I kind of leaned on my radio experience more than my podcast experience for that class. But this one, obviously, right in my wheelhouse, having done play-by-play and that kind of stuff for years and produced live stuff for years. But it brought me back to they were kind of asking, like, okay, how did you get started in this stuff? Because one of the things I said was your best ability is your availability. In other words, even if you think, because a lot of them in that class wanted to be either behind the mic or in front of the camera, sideline reporter, basically what I call the star aspect.
The star. Yeah, I was about to say that.
It's just fine. Everybody wants it. When you get into it, a lot of people want, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with aspiring to do that. I think it's cool. That's good. But you should know how to do everybody else's job, or at least have a working knowledge of everybody else's job, because then, as I told them, when S hits the fan, you're not freaking out, because if your producer's in your ear telling you, oh, the replay machine went down, we don't have replay anymore, you can understand, okay, I know why it did or what they're capable of doing, so I'm not going to ask for a replay, any of that stuff. Or you might sit there and be like, oh, you know what would be great? We need to get a camera shot of this. But if you understand where the cameras are placed in the arena and they can't get that shot, you're not going to get mad when you say, hey, can you give me a shot of this guy? He's down at the end of the bench. Well, no, we don't have a camera that can reach that spot because it's too far in the corner. Then you're not going to be like, well, how am I supposed to talk about this guy when you can't even get a shot? Like, it's that kind of stuff. And we've all seen those type of people. Yeah. So that was a lot more fun, but it got me to thinking about when we first got to Mason, and WGMU was doing the men's basketball games for the students were able to do it because they had a commercial station that was doing the actual broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to ask our mutual friend, Edwin Pardue, was doing the games at that time. Tom Sullivan and guys like that, a bunch of guys that we all know. And I remember asking them, okay, well, who's doing the women's games? And Edwin looked at me and said, why would you do that? And I was like, well, it's got to start somewhere. So I talked about running, and you may remember this, running 75 feet of phone line in the old PE building from courtside to the volleyball coach's office and having to tape it all down. And then we're running it on POTS line, plain old telephone system.
Yep.
So we'd have to dial with our little box or whatever to get back to the radio station. And then we'd have to walk from the rack
setup
across to Thompson Hall, answer the phone, put it up. And so then you just have your microphone back in the P building just open so you could hear like the warm-up music going on. And that's what would be going out over the radio station until you got back and put the headset on and started your broadcast.
And I remember having to do that for some of the men's games because the DJ didn't show or no one could set us up. And I remember a couple of times you and I, for whatever reason, I was doing it once or twice. I would be back at the station. You were already at the Patriot Center.
Yep.
Waiting for you to dial in.
Eagle Bank Arena now. You got to be
That's
call
right.
it Patriot Center anymore.
The Pat Wright Center.
Yes.
And having to set it up on the board and then driving over and joining you for the broadcast.
Yeah.
So
well, we did
funny. I totally forgot about that till you just mentioned that. Like the whole setup and
we did that the first year that they had the club football team was when we were in school. A bunch of my fraternity brothers were actually on the team, and they played early on one of their games. They played at Fairfax High School, and I was like, "Well, I want to do this game." So I did that same thing, driving from Fairfax High School back to Mason, and I literally had taken a cassette tape, like one of those 90-minute cassettes. So I know I had 45 minutes worth of music on it. So right before I left out of the Fairfax High School press box, I just put my microphone next to the tape deck and hit play. It's going to nothing at this point because the phone's just ringing back at the studio. There's nobody there. So I drove, and sure enough, the phone's still ringing. So because I didn't know, I was like, is the phone going to ring for 10 minutes or does the phone company cut it off at a certain time? What? It didn't. It was still ringing. The little light bulb was flashing in the studio like it did. So I picked it up. I could hear the music. Awesome. Pulled out the handset, pulled the pot up. Music's going out over the perfect. Drove back, put my headset on, started the football pregame at that point. That was the first time I figured out that you could just let a phone ring basically forever.
Yeah.
It never, like nowadays, it would just go to voicemail or it would just cut off, I would imagine. But it went the entire time. It was great.
So, here's my question. Totally unrelated, but I need to know.
Yeah.
The press phone on Press Row at Eagle Bank Arena. Do people still answer it?
No, it is no longer.
Okay.
It's a great question. And that was part of the story of me starting out because the first time I ever did an actual Mason game, not on WGMU, not on the college station, was when Bob Gotkin, I don't know if you remember Bob Gotkin. You probably do. I think Bob's still around. I don't know. Bob was older than us. He got into a car accident on the way to Mason to call a game one night, called that phone. So if people aren't aware of it, and I told the kids about it, there was a phone literally that sat on basically Press Row that was a dedicated line that all the sports tickers would call that number, like 993. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they would call, and there was a person dedicated to that phone, and all you did was pick it up and go, George Mason 38, East Carolina 34, 2:13 to go in the first half. Yes. And then you'd hang up. Like they would say, is it, whatever, is this a league game or whatever it was? And you'd say, yes, CAA league game or whatever it was. And then you'd hang up the phone. And they'd call back like 15 minutes later to get the next score update. So Bob called that phone like an hour before the game started. And just luckily somebody went by and picked it up, because a lot of times people are like, the game's not started yet. Don't answer it. Who cares?
Right.
You know, because they start calling like 15 minutes before the game to get the starting lineups, because they would put the starting lineups in and, you know, whatever place that they were doing it from. A lot of it was Vegas, apparently. I don't know. But
Yeah.
So Bob called that phone. They ran down the SID Carl cell. I was sitting across down near the student section with Chris Jolly, was doing color with me, and Matt Young from the Broadside was my other color guy. And Carl came over and grabbed my headphones and took them off of me and looked at me and said,
Come here.
Me. I'm like, oh no. Because the team sucked. So we would ask a lot of really, I'm not going to say inappropriate questions, but we weren't nice about it. I mean, it was just like, okay, we've lost 5 in a row. Like, what needs to change? Like, it was that kind of stuff. Because you're just like, I can't believe we are this bad. This was the Ernie Nestor days. This is before
Ernie Nestor.
Yeah, this was
God
Ernie
bless
Nestor
him.
days. Yeah, loved Ernie. Didn't do a great job with us at Mason. And I'm like, I'm going through my head like, okay, I didn't say anything. I'm thinking of like the other people that work at the radio station, like who screwed up? What did we do? And I go, okay, Carl, what's going on? What's wrong? And that's when he goes, Bob got into a car accident. He's not going to make it. Go down there. And it was like literally just 10 feet to my right. He goes, go sit down with Mike Foss. He's like, you're on in 5 minutes. And I was like, what? He's like, you got to do the game. I'm like, all right. And I had enough smarts because I used to tape all the games. I bring my tape recorder. I had enough smarts to grab the tape recorder. And I looked at Jolly and Matt Young and said, you guys got the game. Good luck. And they were both like, we don't know what we're doing. I'm like, good luck. And so they ended up doing the game. Chris said it was the worst thing they'd ever done. He's like, it was awful. He's like, because neither one of them were play-by-play guys. They were newspaper
commentators.
Yeah, well, they were newspaper guys, and they would just be there, and I would be like, what'd you see here? What'd you think of this? Like, they were my analysts. So I went down and I taped it, and then like a couple days later, went down to the field house, walked into Carl's office, said, here's the tape. Thank you for the chance. If you ever need me again, thought you'd want to listen, you know, see how I did. Maybe you'd want to use me. I know it was an emergency. So if you had a choice, maybe you wouldn't have picked me. You would have had somebody else do it. And a week later, he called me back and he's like, hey, man, that was really good. He's like, you did a really good job. And I was like, oh, thanks. And he goes, would you be willing? He's like, do you want to start traveling if we need fill-in stuff on the road? I was like, yes, of course I do. And so, yeah, it didn't do anything the rest of the year. But the following year, my first flight that I ever took was with Mason when we went to play Colorado. The second flight I ever took is when we went out, and that was the infamous Nate Langley double bird on ESPN when we played, I think it was
Memphis?
USC.
Oh, no.
And Long Beach State.
Long Beach State.
It was against Long Beach, but we played 2 games out there.
Yeah.
I think it was USC was the other one. I don't remember. It was 2 games in Southern California. But that was the Nate Langley double bird and the who was it? I can't remember the guy's name now who didn't come back with us.
GC Marcaccini.
Marcaccini, yes. GC did not come. Kept thinking of Marco, but that wasn't it. That was the other foreign guy that was here later. Yeah, that was the GC doesn't come home and Nate Langley, the double bird on ESPN. That was that trip.
He was
they
called him the frustrated young man when he did that. It was so funny.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me, and I'm going to cover it up.
Yeah, no, you don't have to. Okay.
You're telling me I can't call that number anymore.
I don't think it's. I mean, maybe
that has been in my contacts for the longest time. I'll tell you the number off air. You can go, I don't know. But I just thought it was funny. Like, I saw that the other day. I was like, oh, man, I should be calling down there asking for you.
That's hysterical. Maybe there still is one. I don't think so. Like, right. I don't know why we would. That's so funny because I don't have that number anymore. I don't even know. You know what? I don't even think. Well, you could tell me, is 993 even the first 3 digits?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because it used to, before it went to 993, it was 323.
Okay.
was the old exchange. So, okay, very good. The other thing, just real quick, and because we've gone much longer on this than I thought. But anyway, those kids are really cool. They asked some good questions. But there's all this stuff going on. Here's the other thing I don't understand. And you could tell me if you could think of something that we would have done in the 80s. I don't know if it's gone on up there in Maine. Here in Northern Virginia, they've had a bunch of, and it's happened all over the U.S., but I'm just familiar with how it's gone on here. They've had a lot of the high school kids have been, we're going to protest ICE. And so they leave school. They just basically walk out and they go to the corner of their school. And I don't know, get people to honk and they wave signs and they go back inside. And I know there's supposed to be one. Well, it would have already happened because it was supposed to be at 9:30 this morning. As we tape this, it's past 9:30. But all they were going to do, from what I understand from friends of mine, was they weren't going to let them walk out to the main road because it's too dangerous. It's a four-lane highway, basically two lanes going each way. So the kids were just going to they got a half hour. That was it, to go out to their football field and rally against ICE. Then they had to go back inside the school.
Okay.
Now, again, I guess good for them having the conviction of their, of whatever. Not sure it's going to solve anything. I don't think that people that run ICE or anything else are going to see these kids in Northern Virginia go stand out on their football field for a half hour and go back inside. I mean, again, I'll say this. It's fine. They learn that you can do this in this society. That's awesome.
First Amendment. Yep.
It just doesn't solve anything. It's not solving the thing.
And to a certain level, I think the administrators know that, but it's a teachable moment. My question is always, was this created by the influence of teachers, or was there a group of students who were so upset at ICE that said, we have to do this? And that's where I question the backgrounds of this, because we had a few up here in Maine do that, a couple schools. And so I kept bringing up, okay, so when the next group of students who want to do the pro-ICE protest, is the school going to allow them to go out and do it no matter what? And that, created a lot of confusion on some faces because they couldn't understand that. Well, what
why
if
would
they
you be pro-ICE?
Right. Why would you be pro? Well, not everyone thinks the same. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's, this feel good, teachable, emotional, like, yes, you can do this and express yourself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, you can't go off campus. So, and I think, you'd mentioned, I think didn't happen here. Some other schools where it happened and kids just left. Like they used the opportunity to be, we're gone for the day. Take care.
Well,
what's the school going to say about it? Yeah.
Well, another school here that had one, the kids ended up there's a shopping center right across the street. They ended up going over and vandalizing some of the stores at the shopping center. That's what, I think some of them got caught and got suspended or whatever, but it's that's not what you're supposed, that's the last thing that you should be doing if you're going to go out and protest stuff, is destroying stores in your own community. That has never made sense to me. When a sports team wins a championship, you trash your city.
Yeah.
Why? It makes no sense. Never understood any of that.
Irrational exuberance, I guess.
Yes,
so
I guess so.
But again, I go back to, not questioning their ability to protest, how they feel. Because I say there's plenty of protests you can go to. So what happens if every day the students come up with, today we're going to protest this? What is the administration supposed to do? Because you kind of let, the horse out of the barn at that point of, well, we can't curb their right to, okay, but they're going to do it every day now, right?
That's what I said.
Tomorrow it's going to be, you're feeding us round pizza versus square pizza. What are you going to do as an administration when they walk out and protest that?
Right.
So, hopefully there's an educational component going on inside the school when these things are allowed to happen. But yeah, that's what I would do. Maybe that's the Gen X at me. It's like, okay, what's tomorrow?
Exactly. We'd have been
Because
like,
there's a math exam and I'm not really prepared for it. So let's host this protest, during third period, and the school just has to get over it.
Is there anything that you could think of when we were in school that you'd have been like, yeah, we need to walk out. We need to protest this. I can't think of anything. We didn't have Vietnam. That was long gone by the time we were in high school. That was over a decade past at that point. The Gulf War was when we were in college, the first one. There wasn't any.
There wasn't a lot of protests, though.
No.
There was some, but I don't remember it being.
So there wasn't a draft. So it was like, okay. And that was over quick. That was I'm talking about the first Gulf War, not the sequel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't come up with anything that I was like, yeah, we would have walked out for that. I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything.
I can't think of anything right now that upset me enough, generationally enough to warrant that. Because sometimes I think some of these protest things, I mean, you have a right to do it. I think it can happen. I just think there's a lot of money behind them that creates more of a protest than there would be if it just needed to happen on its own. Right. Yeah. I think a lot of it is manufactured to a certain extent. And still these kids protesting ICE. I don't know. I mean, I know we have a slant, but the reality is they're just doing what they're told. And I'm not saying that's right, but they enforce immigration. They're checking people. It's no different, as I said, having a discussion today. State troopers out here on the main turnpike. There's a segment of them that are commercial truck inspectors.
Right.
So what is their job? Pulling over trucks and checking things on trucks, because that is their specific job to go do. And like it or not, that's the specific job of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're going to be checking on who's supposed to be here, not be here.
Yeah, my thing is
we can discuss tactics, but that's their job.
Yeah. I mean, the overzealous lots are few and far between. It's just like saying that all cops are the same. They're not. It's all that kind of different stuff. But don't be mad at the people that are just tasked with the job. Be mad at the people who tasked them with that job if you want.
Correct.
That's who you should be angry with. And I mean, again, I don't know if the students understand that or not. I said there should be a quiz. Every student that wants to go protest, you should have to answer a couple of questions on why you're protesting to make sure that you understand why you're doing that. Because again, you also don't want to be just a useful idiot either.
Groupthink. Yep. Just going along.
Exactly. All right. Well, you know what didn't get trashed when something happened good back in the day? They didn't trash Gary.
Johnson over to Ramsey. The Letonov gets checked by Ramsey. McClanahan is there. The puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
There you go. 46 years ago, coming up this weekend, Sunday. February 22nd. So
that's
unbelievable.
Half a century, Bill.
I know.
I mean, that's what boggles my mind, because I remember it. It still sticks out there, and you tell me it's 46 years ago.
Yep.
But
great.
They didn't crash Lake Placid. You're right.
And you think about it. I watched the I think it was called The Boys of 80 on Netflix, the special that just came out on the hockey team. They did a whole reunion, brought the team back. Obviously, a couple guys have passed away. They brought all these guys back to Lake Placid, and they were showing video from those Olympic Games. And again, I was not even 9 years old yet. We were 8. We were turning 9 that year, but this happened in February. So we were still 8 years old. And I can remember, watching that. And again, a kid, and maybe this is where it started. I said on the previous episode, if I'm flipping channels and I see a kid with a USA jacket on, he's playing marbles, I'm watching and I'm rooting for that kid wearing the stars and stripes. Yeah. Maybe it started from this. Maybe it started from that, because again, you're coming out of Reagan hadn't been elected yet. This was still under Jimmy Carter, but it was the election that year. But this was kind of the first, hey, we might be back. Like the U.S. we might be getting back on track here with the hockey team actually winning that game. But it was wild because do you remember Eric Heiden from that Olympics?
Yes, 5-time gold medalist. And what's so
Correct.
impressive about him, for who don't know, is he won all the events, short,
Yes.
long distance. Like, he was just a war horse.
Right.
So
Unbelievable. Speed skater.
yeah.
Do you know where the speed skating events took place in Lake Placid? By the way, Lake Placid has no shot at ever again hosting an Olympic Games. No chance, because it's in a tiny little town up in New York that nobody knows anything about. I don't even know how they got it in 1980. It's crazy. But do you know where they did the speed skating at Lake Placid in 1980?
No.
They did it. You ready for this?
Okay.
In the front parking lot of Lake Placid High School. It was held outdoors.
I was wondering if it was outdoors, but interesting.
Yes.
Okay. They just converted a parking lot.
Yes, outdoors. They showed video because they interviewed Heiden for this documentary. And he was talking about how cool it was because the days he skated, the hockey guys would come and watch him skate. And then the day he'd have the next day off and he'd go and watch them. They would be playing. So he's like, it was back and forth. We kind of got to know each other because we're watching each other's events. And they showed highlights of like one of his things. And there's like fans, I'm sure they probably were teachers or whoever that worked at the school that were like sitting in like second story windows, like looking down. Like if you're on a parade route and your office building happened to be on the parade, you would just like open up your window and like look out. That's what they were doing at the high school. They're just like sitting there like watching it. And I was like, wait a minute. That says Lake Placid High School on the front of that building. And then they talked about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's outdoors. And it's just like in the parking lot or something at the high school. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, well, no wonder his records aren't around anymore. I mean, obviously, things progress anyway, but like,
yeah,
no shot at holding those records as soon as they went indoors. None.
That was real competition then, right?
Yes.
That's what it was meant to be,
Outside of the
outdoors in the raw, right?
Yes.
Snowing or not, doesn't matter. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that because I can see the visual of the team playing hockey and know that was indoors, but
right.
I'll have to go back and look at that because I was saving that for Saturday. That for Saturday.
All right. Yeah.
No, it'll be fun to see it, but
yeah. Go back, and even on YouTube, you could probably find Eric Heiden, gold medal
some highlights
from whatever race it was. But yeah, like you said, he wanted the 500 and 1500, or it'd be like a swimmer. Just going and dominate from the 50 free all the way up to the, 1600 or whatever it is that they swim. But that was the amazing part of that. And I cut it off after, the countdown, and then do you believe in miracles? And you can hear the crowd. If you really listen, you can hear them doing the 3, 2, 1 that Al Michaels didn't do. But it's another minute of just watching the highlight. It's just a minute of them showing the U.S. hockey team all hugging and celebrating with each other. They have a couple shots of the Soviet team. And it's interesting because you could see, the Soviets are stunned, but you could see the couple of guys have like a little smile on their face, like, that's pretty cool. Yeah, because again, the whole arena is going absolutely berserk. But give credit, and I'm not sure how many play-by-play guys would be smart enough to do this today. Al didn't say a word. It was Al Michaels and Ken Dryden, I think, the old goaltender of the Red Wings, I think, were the two guys on the call. And for the next minute until the video that I pulled this from cuts off, he doesn't say a word. You don't hear anything except the crowd going crazy. And it even still watching it, I was like, this is incredible how loud that place is. I'm not sure most people would be able to lay out. They have to try to make it all about them at that point.
Yeah. Well, and the other stuff I do know is, what people have to remember, we always forget, that what we saw on TV that night was a replay from earlier in the day. Right. So when Al is calling the game, he knows it's going to air again later. Right. So he's doing the game as if it's live and it's going to be, and he said he had the president's mind. He just tried to not come up with anything and just kind of let it happen as it happened and let the moment carry itself. And you're right. I think modern people would have tried to interject or be too involved in the moment instead of letting the moment just play out as it did. And so, that's why he's one of the greats of all time. He had the president's mind say he didn't have a thing in his mind. It just what came out of his mouth, and then just let the scene itself be the story for the rest of that broadcast.
Yeah, because a lot of people now write their stuff. Like if there's going to be a game-winning shot, they'll write it for, okay, if it's this player, this is the phrase I'm going to use, or whatever it is. It just doesn't sound natural at that point. What he did in that moment was completely natural, because again, I'm not sure younger generations won't understand this. To call it a miracle, people are like, oh, it's a miracle. No, they were not supposed to have any chance
at all.
Any chance at even making the medal round. Yeah. They weren't even supposed to make it to the medal round. Yeah. They were supposed to be done. They were an afterthought. So this whole idea, you can hear it if you watch, especially after Eruzione scores, they put them up 4-3 in the third. You can hear, are they actually going to pull? You can tell in the, are they really going to pull this off? This is not supposed to happen. Yeah. So,
the Soviet team, I can't remember, was it the week before the Olympics? Just something recently.
Before. Yeah.
Beat the NHL All-Stars 6-0. They were the juggernaut that could not be stopped. And so that is, as they said, miracle. Herb Brooks will tell you, no, it wasn't a miracle. I planned for this. That was his whole thing afterwards. Was not supposed to happen. Not even supposed to be potential. Right. And, they pulled it off.
See, and I think in talking about watching the Olympics this year, I'm usually somebody, and I went and paid my money for the month of Peacock so I could watch things live and everything else. But I've noticed I'm not as invested. And maybe it's just because I'm older and I got other stuff going on. But I think it's because everybody's using pros now. I can watch the Olympic hockey. They're all they're all the US when they're not all on the same team when they're in the NHL. But I can see all these guys. There's no drama to the fact that, I know the US won. The hockey team won in overtime yesterday, so I guess there was drama for that. But, if these guys win gold, I'll be like, all right, cool. Yeah, we won gold. Good. We stopped Canada from winning their national sport or whatever. But there's no juice to it like that.
Yeah.
And there never will be again, because the same thing I have been against. Look, when we sent the NBA Dream Team in 92, my thought was, do it then. Smash everybody like they did. And then just go, you got what you deserved.
We won't do it again.
All this time, you got what you deserved. Just know we'll do it if we have to. And then just go back to let the college kids do it. It was way more fun rooting for the college kids than why do I wonder? What do I care? And in some cases, what do they care? What do they care about? I think the Euros probably care more about the Olympics than a lot of the U.S. players do. I think the U.S. players don't care. They're like, I make multi-million dollars and I play for an NBA World Championship. But that was kind of, for a while there, that was kind of the attitude, which is why we didn't win it the one year. Yeah. I'd love to see him go back to the amateurs. It'd be great. Anymore, they get paid with NIL money. But anyway.
Yeah. It goes back to, why Europe was, it's the nationalism, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't the pro levels to aspire to necessarily, back a few years ago. It's changed with the NBA, but if you were the best basketball in Croatia, you were just going to be the best basketball player in Croatia at the time, right?
Right.
And so it meant that was your world stage to show yourself, and I represent my country, et cetera, et cetera. We just don't have that anymore. And right. I think it's also changed for the European countries, much like the US. I hate to say it this way, and here's the old man. It's a lot of people worry about the name on the back of the jersey than the front of the jersey anymore. So
true.
think we've gotten to that point too. And, as you just mentioned, it's bleeding down into college athletics as well. Once money got involved.
Yeah, no, it and I mean, look, we go off on another 2-hour tangent. NCAA they are so gutless. I mean, I give them credit for denying the kid from Alabama that came back and played a couple games, and they're like, no, you can't do that. And now there's another guy. I don't remember his name because as soon as I saw it, I just went, I can't do this. There's a guy who is 25 years old, 25, and is like, I want to come back. He spent 1 year, I forget where it was, didn't get drafted, kicked around the G League and I think some Euro places as well. And now he's like, I want to come and help a team. I'm back. You're 25, dude. Move on. Like, stop already.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. I don't. And I mean, for the coaches, I guess I kind of understand because they're like, well, I need to win because if not, I mean, why wouldn't I take every opportunity to win? But at some level, but at some level, you're already like Nate Oates is in no danger of getting fired down at Alabama. He's not going to get fired. Bill Self is not getting fired at Kansas. The Scott Drew's not getting fired at Baylor. Like to me, that's like, why are you doing? Like, you're not in danger. Like nobody said, well, you've had a couple seasons in a row where you've only won 25 games instead of 27 games, and you only made the Sweet 16 and not the Elite 8 the last year. So I don't know. We may have to get that's not happening. So why would you want to go down the road of ruining your sport, which is what they're doing?
Well, and you might be able to answer this question, and we don't need to go down this tangent. But here's my, the guy from Alabama, the other kid wanting to come back at age 25. We can talk about eligibility. There's court cases. There's NCAA. No one's, at least on the forefront, answering the question for me is, well, let's talk about academic eligibility. Like, does he have credits? How are you letting him in? Right? Because all this was forever student athletes.
Right.
But it seems like we're not even talking about that in these specific situations. Did the University of Alabama say, yeah, you can come back. You're good. You got to take this class and do that. Right? Somehow we're skipping over that, or we're not being told that part of the story.
Here's the thing with all of these guys, especially the mid-year guys. They're going to register for their class.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a blanket statement. So if somebody in the comments or whatever wants to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, fine. There may be individual aspects. I'm talking as a blanket statement. And this goes for even guys that are going to be one and dones. When that spring semester hits, they ain't taking classes.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you? You're leaving in May.
Yeah.
There's so many times that they've talked about where one and done guys will be on campus from September to December, and they'll get through their classes and they'll do enough to be eligible, or the academic people will do enough for them to be eligible, whatever it may be. And not casting aspersions on anybody in specific, but generally we know stuff goes on behind the scenes. That's how you get guys who can't read when they get out of college. But once the spring hits and they know they're leaving, they know they're going to go to the NBA draft or whatever it is. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you even go to class? It doesn't matter. Now, you're going to hurt the university as far as like if they're still doing APR stuff, because if you fail those classes, so I mean they'll figure out a way that maybe, okay, can he take online courses or whatever. I mean, it's going to be such nonsense classes that it won't matter. I mean, we saw that with North Carolina a few years ago with the kind of the no-show type classes that they had going on and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the academic side of it. Throw that away. That's been a joke for years, well before any of this stuff went on. But yeah, here's the problem with all of these guys that are doing 4 schools in 4 years or 5 schools in 5 years, whatever it is, the COVID kids that have the extra year of eligibility, or if you get a red shirt for an injury, whatever, you jumping around like that, you're not graduating.
Yeah.
Any average student, just a kid that's going to school, if they jumped to 5 different schools in 5 years, they wouldn't graduate because what you take at one school does not transfer to another school, and you continually do that, you're not going to get to your 120 credits. It's just not going to happen. So that's, to me, if we want to keep this as like, hey, we're supposed to be educating these kids. Now, if you want to throw that out of the equation, then I have no argument. But if you're going to keep this as, hey, they're supposed to be getting an education while they're doing this, and it's on them to, obviously take advantage of that. But if that's the case, you're sending out with these rules of basically 1-year contracts, and you can move as much as you want, and there's no punishment for transferring every single year. They're never graduating.
Yeah.
And the problem, and here's the other problem, just real quick. The other problem is they're trying to, then people will point at, let's just say a kid has been to 3 different schools, his 4th school. I'm just going to pick one at random. So this doesn't have anything to do with this particular school. I'm not saying that they had anything, but let's say their final year is done at Gardner Webb. I don't know. Right. What people will yell about is when that guy or girl or whoever finishes their eligibility and is no longer able to play basketball, but is still 28 credits shy at Gardner Webb because they transferred 2 or 3 different places. They want to say that Gardner Webb is now responsible to make sure that that kid graduates. They should keep him in school. If he's not going to go on and play in Europe or the NBA, it's Gardner Webb that should make sure that that kid gets this degree. To that, I say bunk. I would use much harsher language, but we're trying to be a family show. Because why is it their responsibility? That kid didn't do what he was supposed to do or she was supposed to do 3 years prior to showing up at my university, and now I'm on the hook for it? No. But that's what happens.
Well, no, and I was wondering because, there's NIL and there's NCAA, and I kept going back to, I assumed the academic side was going to be the stopgap. Like that was going to be the line in the sand of, no. You guys can play this game, but if you're going to be a student, and this is how we handle students, XYZ is in play. This is how it has to happen. And there's going to be no questions about it. But it sounds like, and again, you're a little bit closer than I am, that the academic side's kind of, whistle and roll our eyes and not be a part of this. So,
look,
and I don't know if it's because they're forced to not be part of it or,
Well, the whole idea is, and I don't care what university you're at, if you're at big time D1 athletics, the most powerful people on that campus are a lot of times the head coaches of your top program.
Okay.
And if they want something, in other words, I need this player, I need this running back to be able to be eligible for us in the fall if we're going to win this conference championship and go to the playoffs. So whatever you need to do, academic folks, school president, I'm serious.
Okay, no,
I'm president. Whatever you need to do, this guy needs to be in our backfield.
Okay.
So whatever it takes, you get it done. I mean, look, I know from Mason experience, and I'm not going to name any of the particular players, Mason is paid for guys to take summer school classes so they can transfer and go somewhere else. You knew the guy was going to transfer and go somewhere else. They still said, yes, we know you need X number of credits to be eligible to play at your next school by the fall. You wouldn't be able to go to their school and get those credits because it's not going to transfer properly. So, yeah, we'll pay for a couple of your classes so then you can go transfer and play for somebody else. My thing is, I would say, no way.
Correct.
No way. Why am I responsible at this point? You're not going to be here. I'm not responsible for you. The day you say you're transferring,
you're done.
Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
because here's my thing. I would say the same thing.
Play that game. So
if you wouldn't do that for any other student who said, hey, I'm going to be transferring out because I want to pursue the program at this place, Mason would, or any school wouldn't go out of their way to go, oh, okay, well, let us take care of you and do this and this so that you'll be okay at your next school.
I think the difference is if you're just a regular student, you're having to pay for the class yourself. So you could be like, okay, well, I'll pay for these 2 classes that I have to take at Mason before I transfer to wherever. But that money's coming out of your pocket. My problem is the money is coming out of Mason's pocket because you're on scholarship. You're on scholarship because it's supposed to be an exchange of, hey, we're going to pay for your school because you're going to play for our team. Well, when that spring semester is up, to me, that's Mason's liability is no longer in play anymore. They fulfilled their side of the contract, which was, hey, we're going to pay for your school for a year, fall semester, spring semester, while you play for our basketball team. When that spring semester ends and you get into summer, that's now going to the following year, in my opinion, as far as like credits go. Why would I pay for that?
Yeah.
If I made, and again,
excellent.
I get it because now you have agents and all these guys work, they have a bunch of different people. So you don't want to piss off this guy because while this player may be leaving, he's also the agent for this other guy that you may want to bring in. So you can't piss him off. So you're going to, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Oh, me.
It's so
wow,
ridiculous.
what we've gotten ourselves into.
It's not great. Honestly, college athletics are in a really bad spot right now. Really bad spot. But speaking of Gardner-Webb, real quick, I wanted to get your opinion on this. And they just came up randomly because I was thinking about them. So they're dropping a couple of sports to add acrobatic and tumbling. But here's the big one. Women's flag football. Would you be in favor of your college, and you're an alum of George Mason, would you support, cheer on, buy merch, whatever it is, for a women's flag football team?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
So being cynical, I look at it as, well, now the problem's always been they've allowed the football teams to have all these players, and they've had to compensate through Title IX with all these other extra sports we just add. So at least now I look at it and go, okay, well, women's flag football, you're getting equal now, right? We're not having to run crew and all these other odd teams to make up for the numbers, because now we can go 1-for-1 almost with women's flag.
You're
not so much.
There's 85 guys, roster spots at the D1 level in a lot of cases. You're not bringing in 85 women's flag football.
You could.
It'd be dumb. Maybe you're going 20 to 25.
Yeah.
30 at the top line, which I would think even that's probably way too many. But yeah, for people that might be chuckling about it, this is going to be a huge sport. It's already down south. I have a buddy of mine, TJ Reeves, who came on one of our shows. His twins, their school district, flag football is a sanctioned sport for women. There are schools all over the South that already play flag football as an NCAA sport. It's coming around here, Northern Virginia. The Commanders dumped a bunch of money. Prince William, Loudoun, Fairfax, Arlington, a lot of the schools around here, I think even over in Maryland as well. I had a bunch of the kids that play high school basketball for me. They played on the girls' flag football team. They loved it. They absolutely loved it. It may end up destroying field hockey because it's going to be the same time as far as the high school goes, but they were thrilled with it. People talk about WNBA all you want. This is the next big sport that's coming. And don't think about your lingerie football league that they did. That was ridiculous. This is coming, and these are really good athletes.
As soon as you said it, I was like, that makes complete sense.
Yep.
Because I look at it, more football is better for everybody, right? So now there's more coaching opportunities. And there's more. I just see it as a good thing, which I can't believe I never thought of. Like, hey, just add women's flag football, because obviously, a lot of women don't want to put on the pads and helmets and go hit each other.
Yeah,
but it gives all the same skill sets without necessarily all the physical contact and concussions and all of the stuff that can go on. So I think it's fabulous, because I would go watch a women's flag football team, say at the college level, before I'd go watch field hockey or
here's the thing,
crew. Rowing, that's just nonsense to me. So
even if you only get, say, 1,000 people to show up and you get 4 home games, whatever it may be. So 4,000 people come to watch your women's flag football team. That is 4,000 more people that are ever going to watch a women's tennis match or a men's tennis match. And no offense.
No, it's
reality. Or like you said, crew. Other than parents and maybe friends, nobody's walking out to watch the regatta. Like, it's just not happening. Maybe for the big ones, you think about, like, they do a bunch of them up in Philly. That's always a big one. Obviously, was it Oxford and whoever over in England? They have the traditional match or regatta out there. But for your average college, nobody's going to watch the tennis team.
Nope.
But they'll go watch the flag football team. I guarantee it. So I would love to see Mason do it. I don't think they will, but I would love it. I would think it would be fantastic.
I kid you not. As soon as you said, I was like, that's fantastic. Like, that makes complete sense on how to handle that and a new sport to add versus, pickleball. So,
right.
I mean, people love pickleball, but again, I don't want to necessarily go watch, but I could see myself going to watch women's flag football on a Saturday afternoon.
Sure.
I think it'd be cool. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Anyway.
So we'll see what happens with it. Yeah, that was just a quick aside, but I want to get your opinion on that because I was talking to some folks at Mason about it last night. I was just like, I think this is the way to go. I was like, I mean, why wouldn't you do it? So, I mean, I don't know that they have any plans to, but I was like, I would be for it. I think they should do it. So, anyway, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here. Do you have any parting words before we call it a day?
Well, I was going to say, as Gen X, we don't expect miracles, but we're old enough to have seen one on the ice.
This concludes this episode of Gen X Men with Bill Rowland and Gary Dollarhite. Gen X Men is now off the air.